Okay, so this is a little kitten that was abandoned. He came into our care. He's about 3 weeks old. And a Colebrook vet, is that the name? Cornwallis vet. Sold my girlfriend's brother a $30 tin of kitten formula, then gave him the exact opposite directions of how to use that formula safely. They also failed to notice, I don't know if it'll show up, no, right there, that little dark patch, there's a little cut on his foot, and the vet failed to even notice that. Or he or she, whoever the vet was, said it was in good condition except for some bloating from nobody massaging his little belly. So my girlfriend just gave him his afternoon feed, and he started screaming, foaming at the mouth, and weird red stuff came out of his eyes. He started spasming and convulsing. He got really, really hot to the touch. So I tasted the milk stuff, and it made my mouth sizzle and burn and pucker. So I called the vet to ask what the heck they're going to do about this, and the secretary lady said to bring it back in and get a refund because the onus is on them. And then she put a vet on the phone to talk to me. Now, let me tell you something, man. Vets are a bunch of no good nicks. They're bad, bad people. The vet tried to blame it on an anatomical malady, some kind of anatomy problem, even though everything was fine until the food entered the system this afternoon. He's been refusing the food more and more over the last day, and we got the food about a day after Seth had it, which means it was out of the refrigerator for that day. When we read the fine print on the instructions, we found out they were all backwards from what the vet had told Seth, who had told us how to use it. And they sold him this fucking syringe for $4. Pardon my French. But when I called the lady back, the vet, she claimed there is no charge for syringes. This thing, look at this thing. They want us to feed a kitten with this. You ever try to feed a kitten with a super soaker? Does not work well. So, he's resting right now. I gave him some water. That cleared out the crap. The vet claimed we had to bring him in to Cornwallis Vet, even though we're in middle of nowhere. We don't got a car. That's how we like living. Until emergencies like this show up, I guess. But even then, I wouldn't take him to that vet because, again, I've explained everything that needs to be explained. And she was going to perform CPR on him and aspirate his lungs. Even though she didn't know for sure if anything was in his lungs, she was guessing that because she guessed that by using this, we might have shot liquid into his lungs, was her other guess, and now he's trying to aspirate it. I'm sorry, look, one thing I am fed up with is veterinarians thinking they can use words like aspirate and confuse me. My mother is a registered nurse. I was raised reading medical books. You can't bullshit me on these matters. I am not going to pay you $500 to cut open a guinea pig to pull out the baby in it, as the Wolfville hospital tried to do to us when Fern was pregnant, possibly. We don't even know if she was pregnant because they threw the baby's body out and didn't charge us for that, but charged us out the ass for everything else. So Cornwallis Vet has attempted to murder our cat and then extract more funds out of us. The secretary told me I can bring the can of food in for a refund, which was very nice of her. However, the cunty vet, again, tried to blame it on everything except the milk. And she tried to get us to come in for emergency surgery, this, that, and the other. And every time I've gone to a vet with any kind of emergency situation, like I said, it all becomes a lot worse. We took Fern in for her nails to be trimmed, And 2 days later we had lost a baby guinea pig, and Fern was on her deathbed because the doctor had given her a ton of Oxycontin and left her locked up in a cage and then aborted the baby on her after a false labor because she was stressed out from how they were handling from her chopping their nails. They didn't even notice she was pregnant until after they trimmed her nails. So here we are again, nursing another little fella back to health, hopefully, after some lab coat motherfucker beat the tire out of the poor little guy. My mouth is still burning from that milk stuff. I've rinsed it out a couple times, so I can't even imagine how he feels. I jacked a bunch of water into him though. He's calmed down since then. Gave him a little bath to cool him down. He was convulsing and screaming in a way I've never even heard a kitten scream. It was fucked up. I just hope he's okay. Do not take your cats or any of your animals to Cornwallis Veterinarian Hospital, or the Wolfville one for that matter. In fact, I'd suggest to everybody that watches this video to learn yourself some animal medicine. Hell, learn yourself some people medicine. Oh, he's awake. You okay? See, this is what he's been doing. He's trying to go for a run. Oh. The vet couldn't even tell how old he was. She thought he was 3 or 4 weeks old. Or wait, 4 or 5 weeks, I think she said. But the guy's teeth hasn't even grown in yet. You gotta puke? What's going on there? He's having some troubles. But these are the kind of troubles we've been having since the food been all funny. Oh, and the point of the story is the secretary told me we could get a refund, but then the vet just hung up on me when I refused to accept her insanity. Oh, buddy. Okay. It's okay. I'm gonna cut it off from. Okay. So he died. He passed on. Stiff as a board now. We managed to feed him some homemade kitten formula. And then like 15 seconds later, a little death rattle came out, and a squeaky death rattle, and he passed. Before we fed him the homemade stuff, he became very still for a while, and then started mawing about like he was trying to meow, but could not. As Adriana described, his eyes were despondent before that. And he was very still for that, barely moving his legs even. After we gave him the food that we made, he gave us a bit of a meow and a little jostle about. We gave him some formula stuff that Adriana had made out of some sugar stuff and a bit of baking soda because he had lost a lot of electrolytes. And after I gave him a couple shots of that, he actually perked back up for a couple minutes. Unfortunately, this afternoon he went through too much. This morning, okay, let me get this whole order of events down. So yesterday we got him. We got him from Adriana's brother, and his friend had been taking care of him for that day, and she hadn't squeezed the poop out of him. So we squeezed the poop out of him. And then he started running around and acting very active. He was quite a hilarious little fellow. And then we tried to feed him. Every time we tried to feed him the formula that the vets had given us, as well as the incorrect instructions on how to store and prepare, he was pushing it away like with his paws. And everybody on the internet just kept saying he's being a fussy eater, so just make him eat. So we gave him a little dribble every now and then. We'd put some on the fingertip and let him lick it off, like as he wanted to. When he was really thirsty, he'd go for it. Then this morning, when we woke up, he was like on the edge of death. Like he was like fading hard. We cleaned him up and we gave him some cuddles. Gave him a little shot of water. And he perked up. And I gave him some of his formula again. And he sort of warbled about. And then while I was out and about in the forest, I was digging a trench thing. And it was raining today and the trench thing was filled in with some sand, so I just went out for 20 minutes and dug that out. I heard him squeaking from outside. And he was in the living room in a box in this one. And I went in, Adriana had fed him some formula about 10 minutes before. And then he was doing all that convulsion and heavy breathing and was all messed up. So basically, the more of the food we gave him, the worse he got. And this little 3-week-old, 3.5-week-old kitten, who was born under a deck and lived in mud previous to this encounter with us and her brother, he had more sense about what to eat and what not to eat than all the people, all the modern human adults on the internet and all the ones dealing with them, including the vets. So, I don't know what to make of that, other than never fucking trust anyone in a lab coat ever. We learned a lot today though, about animal medicine, about the food that you can prepare for them, among other things. I had to let the other cat in. Anyways, we learned a lot about animal medicine today. We could see immediately when he would pick up when we gave him the good stuff. Then we could see he would get really bad when we gave him the bad stuff, and unfortunately we worked it out too late. And that's the saddest part for us, is that this guy was genetically perfect. This is what the lab-coated people managed to do to him. When they talk about nature being cold and having no conscience and being merciless, they are full of shit. They are projecting their own self onto nature, trying to understand her forces. She is merciful in ways that you could not imagine. So here we see with science, even the genetically perfect will not survive. Thanks, science. It's weird too, because he died like... Adriana was asking if I'd given up hope on him. She wasn't sure if he was gonna make it. She was asking if how I was feeling about everything. I said that I didn't want to give up on him. I wouldn't give up on him. I didn't. I said, I was thinking in my head, I didn't want to say it, but I was thinking in my head that I'm not gonna give up on him, but if he gives up on us, that's his choice. And like 5 minutes later, man, he just like conked out. And he's got a little smile on his face. He really liked the taste of that stuff. He was smacking his lips and everything after he took a couple sips of it, but unfortunately we just got it to him just like, I don't know, I honestly think if we even get it worked out an hour earlier, we could have pulled him around, but can't think about stuff like that too much. Drive yourself fucking crazy. There's my review of the Cornwallis Veterinary Hospital. A little PS. This event has solidified my ideological values in life, which are none, because that would mean some kind of political idea. I am now focused entirely 100,000 fucking % on disconnecting from the systems of food, medicine, religion, and governance that is imposed upon us by the so-called civilized societies of Earth, through whose science even the genetically pure and perfect will not survive. So I googled kitten formula kills kitten or something like that, and I found a bunch of information on a particular PetAg brand of KMR or kitten milk replacement killing loads of kittens, hundreds, maybe thousands even. Company denies the numbers, saying it was only 1 or 2. However, the same company, okay, so in 2009 this happened, and in 2010 the FDA released a report stating that no one should touch the stuff ever, and it's bad. The company admitted it was bad, it changed its formula, and the FDA keeps going after them. And every time they prove that this stuff is killing kittens, they change the formula a little bit. They found copper residues in it and all sorts of weird crap. It says here on the label, all natural with vitamins, minerals, and trace nutrients. Look what I was feeding my kitten, who is now dead. He went through 24 hours of hell before he died. He at least died silently and quietly after convulsing violently for a long period of time. The internet says this shit will turn rancid if exposed to heat. This container does not smell rancid, it smells milky, as it is described to be smelling healthy. I purchased this, or we get this from the Cornwallis Veterinarians Ltd in Kentville and Windsor. There's their numbers and their locations: 678-2731 7985502. They sold us this stuff. The vet tried to blame it on anatomical difficulties. However, I have an extensive history of anatomical study. I know for a fact that this small specimen was genetically perfect in every way, shape, and form. So I just got a call from the police in America. Never talked to them before. So what happens is PetAg apparently called them because I threatened to eradicate their company by exposing the information of them killing kittens and puppies. So they called the cops on me. Why is it whenever I run into somebody that's dumping toxic shit into water or killing puppies and kittens, I get the cops called on me? So anyway, the cop says not to threaten to eradicate them, but I'm allowed to expose their information. So here we are, exposing some fucking information. PetAg's kitten milk replacement killed my motherfucking kitten. And then they tried to call the fucking cops on me, or they did call the cops on me, trying to harass and intimidate me out of bothering them. I never once threatened anything that could be construed as a physical threat. I only told them I was going to expose their information and bring their company down if I could. Through that. Nothing about anything negative and violent. And then the cop starts telling me, well, with the Boston bomber, we gotta be sure. I live in fucking Nova Scotia, I says. They're in California. How am I supposed to go attack these people all the way across the continent? And he says, well, the Boston bombers flew to Russia. Well, maybe you need to fucking ban airplanes then so they stop helping your terrorists, you stupid fucks. The cop was actually really polite. His reasoning was a little weird, but he was the most polite person I've encountered in this yet so far. What's really fucked up is the American cops, with all the people you see them butchering on camera, are nicer than the Canadian cops. You believe that? Yeah. So anyways, there you go. Try to expose some motherfuckers for killing some cats and dogs and they will call the police on you. But I'm allowed to continue, the police says, as long as I don't physically threaten them. And I'm not physically threatening you cocksuckers whatsoever. I give a fuck about your physicality. But your business is built on poisoning animals, and I am going to expose that.